Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Just a Person podcast, a show that explores life's highs, lows, and in betweens. I'm Madison, and this week I sat down with Molly. We talked about why she decided to leave college, alternative ways she sought out learning, and why she ultimately decided to go back to school. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the episode. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Madison. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited for this.
I know, I actually remember the first time we met. I don't know if you remember that, but you're a year older than me. And I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade in the summer, and we went to basketball camp together.
Oh my God, at Hope College, was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. That is wild. That place was crazy. Were you there when there was an ice cream machine and stuff that we had free access to?
I do not know. All I can remember is that I was so small, I was so short, and we were playing against 17, 18-year-olds, and I was like, what am I doing here?
Oh, that's great. Oh, that good memory. That's a really good memory.
I remember it because I was so scared.
Oh no.
But that's when we first met you and Haley, who has also been on the podcast. She was our first episode ever.
Oh, are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was us. I remember us three because we were like around the same age. And then everyone else was kind of older. And I remember you were like, hey, come hang out with us, because I was just terrified to be there.
Yeah, I remember you being terrified.
Yeah.
Oh, Haley is great though. She's like the best person to be able to just be like, hey, come and join us, chill with us, you're good. She's so welcoming. She always has been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was so glad you were both there because I was scared, but so that's how we met.
Well, we made it.
Yeah. How long? I was 13, 20, so 11 years.
14, oh my God, that's crazy.
I know.
Oh, that's really wild to think about.
But anyway, yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is really awesome. I love that you're doing this.
I'm gonna get started with the random question. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I like random questions.
All right, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna ask you this question, and if you'd like an example of what I mean, I will give you an example.
Okay, cool.
Are you more of a watcher or a participator?
Okay, in what sense, I guess?
So the way that I think about it is if you're at a wedding, there are people that dance and people that sit and watch the whole time. They don't ever get up. So in life, thinking about that as a bigger picture, what would you say you are?
I am a sweaty participant.
All right.
Yes. I will be always dancing. Yes. I'll be out there doing things. And there are times where I like to just be the watcher, but I think that's more my reflection time. Okay, this is me time. I want to be alone and I want to chill and just take everything in that just happened. But no, I like to be out there and experiencing life for sure. What about you?
I'm the same. Yeah. I will at weddings, literal weddings, I will be out there the whole time. I don't even care if I'm the only one out there. I will stay out there.
I feel that.
I mean, to me, it's why not? You gotta do something.
I mean, it's a party for a reason, all of life, just gotta find joy in all of it somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've already, discussed how we met, but can you tell me a little bit about when you were a kid and what your childhood was like growing up?
Yeah. I grew up with 3 other siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. And then my mom and dad. We honestly spent a lot of time with all of our cousins. I have 18 cousins on one side of the family and 23 on the other. And so it was a big family on both sides. We spent a lot of time with my mom's side of the family up at my grandparents' house on a little lake. And it was amazing. So we always grew up around water and just other people, people that genuinely loved you just for who you were. So it was really awesome. And then, I mean, my siblings and my cousins were really my closest friends all while growing up. We had one family that we were pretty close to that lived just down the street, and then we happened to go to the same school together for our whole life, and which was awesome because it was like they met us when we were homeschooled, and then we ended up all being at the same school, so we would like carpool together and things like that, and we lived 30 minutes away from where we actually went to high school. So it was kind of cool. It was a good childhood, I have to say. I mean, there were definitely the struggles with like family addiction and things like that, but that's, that's how it goes, and you kind of learn and grow from it. So, and I still am learning and growing from some of those things. But yeah, that I guess is a little summary of growing up.
I didn't know that you were homeschooled. When were you homeschooled?
I was homeschooled until 3rd grade. And then I guess from new information that my mom gave me about 3 years ago, I was really difficult to teach. She was like, I couldn't learn from her for some reason. So she put me into 3rd grade, which wasn't my 3rd grade teacher was quite something. She was interesting, to say the least. It may not have been the best year to go in, but it happened. I cried almost every day. And it was okay though. By 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher was incredible and taught me so much just about different ways of learning. And then I didn't really get that until I went to college again. So yeah, homeschool was great. But then the first 2 years of actual school, were really interesting way of transitioning, I guess.
Okay. And then we went to high school together. And then afterwards, you graduated and you went to college. So how did you decide that you wanted to go to college? How did you decide where you wanted to go to college or what you wanted to go for?
Well, I feel like the first answer to that question is sort of the typical answer of like, I felt like I had to go to college. I felt like there wasn't another option. Like, why would I not go to college? I want to just get it done type of thing was my mindset. And also it was an opportunity I saw to be able to leave Michigan. With that, my dad actually went to a school in Ohio. Quite the place to leave Michigan for.
So exotic.
He went to a school outside of Cleveland area, and he was like, why not just check this out? It's not that far from Michigan, but it's out of state. It's something different. And I was looking at schools in like Colorado and Vermont and like places where it was just like a different type of natural beauty. But I didn't really know what I wanted to go into at all. So I didn't realize how deeply connected I am to the natural world at that point in time. Like I was just like, I need to go to college. Everyone else is going, I got to try. So I ended up going to a college called John Carroll, and I was there for 6 months, and I didn't go into anything. Like I didn't know what I was going for. I was just going, and it was rough. But yeah, that's about why I went to college.
After you left there, what did you do?
I left John Carroll after just like a lot of difficult like mental health issues, and then I went to Aquinas College, which is another tiny school. I again didn't know what I wanted to go into. I was very lost and just kind of there getting credits, and paying money that felt like it was going nowhere. So after about a year and a half there, I was actually nannying at the time for a local family and working for her dad's company as well, which was kind of just like a really nice connection. Just happened to happen, like go that way. So I realized, well, like I really enjoy being around kids. I like being able to be outside when I want to be outside. I don't really like school. I don't know what I want to do with it right now. Maybe I should just like take time off and find some type of educational thing that's like learn by doing, learn hands-on. So I ended up finding this place in Panama in the middle of the jungle called Kaluyala. At the time in 2017, it was more like an eco-village, kind of like a commune almost, but it was also like education based. So there were agriculture internships, environmental engineering, design thinking programs, all different, like 7 different types of programs that were all sustainable, quote unquote. So basically just teaching you how to, live on your own off of the land. And I applied to it, and I'm not going to lie to you, I found it on Facebook. I don't really like sharing that part, but I did find it. But I did. That algorithm. But yeah, I applied to it for the sustainable agriculture program because I was like, I've always liked gardening. It's something that my dad has always done, at least like flowers and stuff. When we were younger, my mom had a vegetable garden, but they didn't for a while. But my dad has always had flower beds, and that's one of my favorite things. And come May, I love being home during that time, even if it's just for 5 days, because I'm like, Dad, put me to work. I'll hang out in the dirt for 3 days straight because it just feels so good. And it's fun to watch the progression. So I was like, why not go into sustainable agriculture? I'll learn how to farm a little bit, learn how to actually grow food and not just flowers. So I applied and I got accepted and I went for 10 weeks. And yeah, and that was kind of my first move. I was like, all right, I'm leaving school and I'm going to go and I'm going to learn by experiencing life and whatever this might have to bring. And it brought a lot.
Was it scary, number one, to leave school, or did it feel like a relief?
I think the scariest part was telling my parents, which sounds very typical. And it's not because I thought they were going to be mad at me. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to be like, this isn't for me. I knew my mom would be like, yeah, you go do your thing. She didn't go to college. So she was like, I knew she was going to be very supportive of like, you go and learn, like go experience life the way you think you need to. So I really wasn't like scared of it. I think I didn't want to disappoint anyone. So I knew with that, I had to find something that was educational, that would teach me like about being a human, because that's what I really cared about. And so my dad was actually extremely supportive of it too. He was just like, okay, I just need you to know, like, you won't get the assistance that you have right now if you leave and come back. And I'm not saying that as like a threat. I'm just telling you honestly, like, I can't do that for you. I can't come back and help you again if you choose to come back to school. And I said, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not worried about that. At that point in time, I never thought I would go back to school. I was like, no, school is not for me. It's not for everyone. And I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of a weird time too. It's like you're transitioning from like needing your parents' approval for every single, like literally like they need to like give you money or whatever. And then now it's like your life is completely yours, but also you still feel like you have to ask permission to do. Like, I remember when I was in college, I was like 20, and I was like, hey, Mom, I think I'm going to get a Hulu subscription. Do you care? And she's like, why would I ever care about that? And I was like, I don't know. I felt like I needed to ask.
First off, your mom is incredible. Let me just tell you that. That is great. Oh my gosh. I feel that though. I do that too. And sometimes my parents are just like, don't really have anything to say back. And I'm like, I'm just trying to talk to someone. Like, talk to someone that relates to me.
Literally, please help.
Please be my friend.
That's funny. Since you said you found your what would you call this? Just like a program?
Yeah, I'd say, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
it was technically considered an internship is what they called it, but
since you found it on Facebook, were you scared to go do it?
okay, that is something that I found like the link on Google, but it was like linked to Facebook, and then I went to their website. So yes, at first I was like, this isn't real. And then I went to their website, was like, no, this actually is real. Like, they just have like they use Facebook as like a spot for everyone to stay connected, because it's people coming from all over the world. So like, this makes a lot of sense. But at first I was hesitant. I was like, this is fake. This can't be real. But it was very real.
Yeah, it's like a trap for them to lure people somewhere.
In the middle of the jungle, you're never coming home. Yeah, my family thought I was a little crazy. My sister was like, I love that you love that, but never for me.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's something I could see you do. You're just like, whatever, let's just do it.
It was my element. I mean, I lived in a hammock and we had no walls, and it was like the floor was the earth, like our ground was the earth everywhere we walked. You know, I mean, yeah, we had like boardwalks and things like that, like built like little structures that had been built by prior people that lived there, or, you know, did like an internship there. But it was my element. Like, it really truly was. I loved it. Every little thing about it. It was very hard, but yeah, I don't know, it was interesting.
Was there an option for you to stay there, or did you have to come back afterwards?
The semester went from, I think it was like was it August to November or something like that, beginning of mid-November. And I was offered the student liaison position there. I was 20 at the time, 21, 20. I was 20 at the time. I was offered the student liaison position and the woman that was running it prior was like this beautiful Australian woman that just did an incredible job, like made people feel so welcomed, knew the land so well, and was very invested in like living a life that connected us to the earth, like reminded us of how we are nature and nature is us. Like we are part of the natural earth, and like she just like embodied that. And yeah, they offered me her position because she was going to be leaving after that semester. And at first I was like, yeah, I would love it. Like this sounds incredible. I want to stay here because I've learned so much and I've grown in so many different ways beyond just like the knowledge I've gained in farming, but also like mentally and emotionally. I had my first panic attack ever there, like where I felt like I was like, my whole body went numb, and I was like, just like delayering so many different things that I was, made to believe or taught through high school and through just like my teenage life. Like we build up these insecurities or these like ideas of how life is meant to be, and then it's not that, and you get super overwhelmed. And because of the fact that we were so disconnected and totally off the grid, I had to face it. And I realized at the end of it, like I can't stay because I'm just learning about myself and who I really am and what I like really can do in this life, that it would not benefit anyone for me to stay here, because I'm still having days where I just cry all day. And it's not bad. It's not like you guys are okay with it because everyone's so welcoming, but I don't think it'd be fair for me to do that to other students, to like not be that support that this woman Samantha has been to everyone. Like if I can't fit that role, then it's not fair for me to take it because I want it. So I ended up not staying, which was super unfortunate. Sometimes I wonder that, like, I don't really have regrets in life, honestly. But there's only one thing that I do look back and wonder, like, if I would have done differently, where would I be at now? And that's the one thing. Like, if I would have taken that job, would I have stayed there longer, like very much longer than a semester more? Would I still be living there 5 years later? Like, what would have happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if this is maybe too personal a question. If it is, you can tell me. But do you feel like, since you said like you went there and you weren't, I mean, it's not like you're like on the Facebook or something all day, you're like outside working, and you have to then like face the things that you've been avoiding that maybe you didn't even know that you were avoiding. Do you feel like once you realized that staying there would have been almost another version of just avoiding things that were like back at home?
That is a phenomenal question. And yes, the simple answer, yes. Totally. And I think that that's maybe, without me realizing it at the age of 20, I think that was part of it. A big part of why I didn't end up staying is like, I need to be able to be this way at home. This is a place where we are meant to come and be with people that are like-minded and all loving, all like with good intentions, with pure intentions behind the actions that they take. Like that's what this place was built for. Home isn't built that way. Not my personal home, but society, like regular reality society, like this society isn't built that way. I need to be able to like feel this way and live this way. There is what was running through my head. And if I can't, then like, excuse my language, but what the fuck is the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. After that, you came back and you went to Colorado.
Yeah, so I actually went to Colorado with two friends that I had lived, three actually, two that had been living together previously, though, dating, that we all lived in Panama together. And then one of which joined in on their house, and then they texted me and were like, hey, we have an extra room. We knew when you were leaving Panama, you didn't want to go back home. You didn't really want to leave there. But would you want to come to Colorado? It was Longmont area in Colorado and take one of these rooms. And I was like, yeah, why not? I remember when I was deciding, I was living at home for that short time between November and February is when I left. So I got home November 2017, and then I worked like a landscaping snow removal job in Grand Rapids. And then by February I left. And I remember spending a lot of time with my mom, and she had went to the beer store and picked out a couple of beers, and one was from Longmont, Colorado, from like Left Hand Brewing. And I was like, I think I need to go. Like, this is the exact place that Savannah and Gunther had just asked if I wanted to move to. Like, I know like not everyone believes in signs, but like I'm taking this as one. I need to go. Like, so yeah, I moved to Colorado with 3 of my friends. And then there was another woman that lived in the house that actually was from Michigan, which is super funny, has a connection to a long-term family friend. He was her teacher in high school. So that was kind of fun. But yeah.
So when you're kind of doing all these different things, were you just kind of going with the flow, or is that like, or did you have in your mind like some sort of loose plan you were trying to follow?
I didn't have a plan at that point in time. At that point in my life, I hated plans. I thought they were stupid. I thought that they were dumb.
Okay.
So I was just kind of, but now I feel differently. No, I was going with my gut.
Okay. And what were you doing out in Colorado?
I was working at an algae farm barn, very interesting and weird, but really cool. And then working at a tap house. So like a restaurant bar type of place. And then yeah, living with friends.
And how long did you live out there?
I only lived out there for about 6 months.
And then you moved to Florida.
Yeah, so I moved home for a short time, but I had gotten a call at the end of my stay in Colorado from my cousin. Her youngest was diagnosed with brain cancer at 4 months old, and she needed a nanny, full-time nanny for her 2-year-old, and a live-in nanny that would move to Florida with her husband and 2-year-old. So, and she was like, I thought of you immediately. Like, I know this is a lot to be asking, but when you get home, like, I'd love to talk to you about it. I remember immediately being like, yeah, yep, I'm doing it. We can talk about whatever you need to talk about. You can brief me however you need to brief me. But my answer is yes, no matter what. Like I'm committing to this and I'll be there. Yeah, I left Colorado end of May, beginning of June. I lived at home for a little bit. My family and I took a trip back out to Colorado like a month later, which was kind of fun. And then in October of that year, I moved to Florida. I helped them move out of their house. Then we moved to Florida.
It seems like this entire time you've been doing a lot of like outdoor type things. Since that wasn't really your main focus anymore, was that something that you started to miss?
Luckily, the kid loved outside. So no, not really. Like we spent the majority of our days outside. Like I don't think there was one day, even in the stormy days, we were in the screened-in porch, like watching the storms. So in a way, yes. But I've always been the type of person that just really loves like hard work in general. And to be able to like step into that position of my cousin's role at the time was really difficult. And so I had to look at it. I just looked at it as like, all right, like this is going to be a tough job. It's going to be a lot of work. Like, what do I need to do to make my cousin feel the most comfortable with me around her kid instead of her around her kid all the time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, especially a kid that's so little.
Mm-hmm.
To have to take care of them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you left Florida, how long were you in Florida?
I was only there for about 3.5 months.
So then after that, where did you go?
I came back home after that. Yes, because I was home by end of January. I actually moved in with my brother and lived in Grand Rapids and worked at a little restaurant in East Town area and lived the city life for a little bit. And I enjoyed it. Honestly, it was really good for my brother and I think. We had always struggled when we were younger, end of high school until I was probably like 21, 22-ish. Our relationship was very difficult. Like we just always were upset with each other. He knew how to get under my skin and I let him. And then I'd just be like mean back. And it was like a sick cycle. And it was all just because we like loved each other so much that we hated that we were so different, basically, yet still the same. So living together was really good. I think it helped us a lot because there would just be some nights where it was just him and I, and we'd just be chilling and just randomly talk about whatever, and it didn't matter, and then be like, all right, I'm going to bed, love you. Like, and it was just nice that it was so simple. Yeah, so I lived there for a short time. I was there for like 7 months straight, and then I was like, I need to get out of the city. I need to do something like with the earth again. And I actually found a trail crew job out in Colorado from like, I want to say it was end of August to end of September because it was only 7 weeks long, or mid-November, I mean. And I was still in the lease in Grand Rapids, so I had finished out the lease once I got back from that. But I moved back out to Colorado for a short time.
What does that mean to work on a trail crew?
Yeah, so the organization was called Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. So it's basically a conservation corps, which is working on trails or on land to conserve it, to then be able to like upkeep it for other people to use. So we did it for 7 weeks. We did the fall season. Basically, just we built a lot of turnpikes, which are just like lifted trails. So you take like big old trees and you carry them in with like these weird like claw things, and you have a couple people on each side. So you just start taking these old stumps and you're using those as like almost like railings, and then filling it with rocks and crushing it down so then you can throw dirt over top of it. And you basically just lifted the trail up so then erosion is limited. Instead of water just wiping out the trail, it will actually like filter through the rocks and then slightly fall down instead of just wiping everything out with it. So we did a lot of things like that, just upkeep, maintenance of trails out in Frisco, Dillon area. So we were based in Steamboat Springs in a little mountain town, and then we worked mainly in those two towns surrounding it.
Okay, and while you were out there doing that, which is interesting, by the way, I'd never heard of that before, but it makes sense to do that. I guess you don't think about it.
You think like DNR, Forestry Service, oh, they just take care of it, but there are a lot of like volunteer, or we were through AmeriCorps, so we didn't really make money, but we had stipends, and then also an education award, which could go to either paying debt, paying for books, paying for class in general, tuition in general, or in certain cases, if you like in like a single family or a single parent home, you could actually pay some bills that like your parents would need to be paid. Just dependent on your situation. So America, like it couldn't just be anyone, but if like, within the legal system, you fell into a certain spot, you could actually use that money to pay for certain bills. So yeah, it is really interesting. You'd think it'd just be DNR or whatever, but no, it's actually like a lot of the times it's younger adults that are like, this is the work I like to do. And I don't make a lot of money doing it, but I get to live out of a tent and be outside every day.
So while you were doing that, was that when you decided you wanted to go back to school?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, there was a Forestry Service member that had heard about the Upper Peninsula area, and they recommended a couple of the schools up here, two of the schools up here. And I was like, okay, like I've heard other people tell me that I would really love this area, like just Lake Superior in general. So why not try it out? So I had, right once I got home from that, because that was end of 2019, so right before the pandemic hit, I applied and I got accepted for the next fall semester. And I realized outdoor recreation is what I wanted to go into. And I got to that point through all of the jobs. I didn't realize I could literally get a degree in something that I've already been doing. And I realized that I could get to the spots that I want to get without a degree, but a degree would just kind of like boost the time. It would it would take away a lot of the time for me to get to that point. I'd be able to get a degree in 3 years and be like, sweet, now I have this piece of paper, but I also have all of the certificates it comes with and the knowledge and experience that this degree offers.
How was this experience different than when you had gone the first time?
I knew myself. I know that's so cliche and like cheesy, but I did. And I don't even know myself fully now, but I knew more about myself. I had taken the time to really dive into like why I am the way I am, and like how my brain works and the way I feel things so deeply. And yeah, and with that, it was my own decision. I didn't feel any type of pressure. Like when I told my dad, he was shocked. He was like, "You're not going back to school. Like, really? You actually want to do that?" I was like, "Yeah, I do. I really do. I mean it." And I remember him just being like pleasantly surprised, and that felt good because like I think that was when it clicked, at least from an outside perspective. It felt like that was when it clicked with him that she's fine. Like she's doing things that help her grow and learn in ways that not everyone chooses to, but it's okay because it's all that matters is you're growing and you're experiencing life. And that felt really good to watch that like click in his brain.
Yeah, I can imagine from a parent's perspective. I think it's just different. Like our parents are just different than us in the way that for them it was like, I need to get, like the point of going to high school is to get into a good college and then get a good job, but like that's not really anymore the way that it works, I guess. Like it doesn't always, going to college doesn't always mean that something's waiting for you on the other side. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to go to college anymore to get a job or to like find the thing that you want to do.
Right. I completely agree with that.
But I can see from your dad's perspective why maybe he would be a little bit hesitant, just because that's not like the path he had. That's not his experience, so he doesn't know what that's like.
Right, exactly. I completely agree, and I loved his perspective. I always would call him during difficult times because I know he'd give that, like, take a step back. This is like, I'm going to share my experience from my life and the things that, were expected of me, or not even expected of me, but that I chose for myself, So it was always comforting to hear a different way, but then to be able to be like, okay, but then, some people can go this route, and him being able to see that and understand it and accept it was really comforting to hear someone that didn't have that opportunity or that chance to just kind of like go out and figure it out in the way that they wanted to. They were expected to go to school in 4 years, and that's what my dad did. And then he went to law school, and, so like he did his stuff because that's what he wanted, but also I think a bit of what he expected, was expected from him. But he was so capable of using that in such a healthy way when it came to dealing with the way that I view life. And I'm forever thankful and blessed to have him as my dad,
What are some of the things you feel like you learned? It can be both or either, you choose, about yourself and just life generally from taking this time off from a more traditional path.
The first word that comes up in my mind is vulnerability, and I feel like there's often a negative connotation with that word because it's like a lot of people see it as just almost like a weakness, like, okay, someone's vulnerable, so like you can almost manipulate them into believing or thinking or doing the things that you want them to do or feel. But for me, I think that it has helped me emotionally grow in tremendous ways. Like in high school, I used to not know how to express my anger, my frustration, or my difficulties. Like I would just cry. And that's okay. That's still a way I emote. Like the way I express my emotions is, or not even process them, is through tears. So then I can express them with words, or actions. But I didn't know that in high school. I thought I was just like, again, excuse my language, but kind of just thought I was like a crazy bitch because I was one day be like super sweet and kind, and then the next just be like cold face, like, please don't talk to me. And what I didn't realize is like my mood shifts because of my hormonal issues, as any woman goes through, or whatever it might have been. I didn't know how to deal with it because no one ever taught me how to deal with it. Like, none of us were ever taught that. And so I think of a really big thing for me that I took away from not going to school right after high school for 4 straight years was the ability to find my own awareness of self and awareness of others as well, and how we influence each other within the world, and how I can take experiences with other people and figure out what I really want from my life because of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like, well, you had all these experiences, but it is interesting because like it seems like when you went to college, right, you said you didn't know what to do, but then you were just kind of doing all the same things once you left. Like it seems like looking at it now, you did know, you just didn't know how to do it or that you even could.
Yeah, truly. And I knew that if I were to be in school, I would feel limited to being able to do those things, Without school, I'm not tied down to, okay, this time of the year, I have to be here because I have to take classes. I was like, it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. I can get up and leave whenever I want. And I can go and experience, maybe the same thing that I'm experiencing here, but in a different place with different people that have different mindsets. And I think because of that, it taught me to always take opportunities that pull at your heartstrings or pull at your soul, at your intuition. If like it sounds like it's something that you would grow and you would blossom in, do it, because why not? Like we all are going to die. We're all going to end up in the same spot. I might as well experience life to the fullest when I can, when I'm capable of it. And if it leads me to school again, then awesome. It does. If it doesn't, I'm still learning. Like I'm still growing. I'm still in school, just in a different way. I think that was the biggest thing, honestly. Panama taught me this, is education is everywhere. Education is also the most important thing if we want our world to continue to like flow in a way that is promising for our children one day, or if we have children or our grandchildren, whatever, just future generations, you have to know that you can be educated in any situation you're in. And I think that made me just want to live life even more.
I think sometimes a problem, and maybe this is like in your situation, is that you just don't know when you're 16, you don't know like every opportunity that the world has. So then when you take a non-traditional path, it's scary because it doesn't seem real. Like how you going to Panama from a Facebook ad, you're like, this isn't real. They're gonna like take me. But but it's just because I don't know, like if you don't know someone that's done it or you've never heard of it, how would you have any idea what's even going on?
Yeah.
And school doesn't work for a lot of people, and I don't really think it's meant to. It's like it's meant to a certain degree just be part of your life because you have to learn things. You can't just never know anything that's going on.
Right.
But at a certain point, like you have to decide, yeah, like you said, what type of school you want to be in, I guess.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Oh, it's weird to think about. But yeah, I think with all of this, it's made, especially with some nannying mixed in there, it's made me think about like I one day I really hope to be a mother, whether like I mean I know I'll adopt children because there's too many kids out in this world without families, but I do want to experience having one of my own as well. And it makes me think about what opportunities am I going to open up to my children, like am I going to let them know that there are 100 different paths to one destination? There's more than 100. There's so many different paths to this one destination, and if you don't feel like it fits you, I hope you choose something that does. And my parents were very supportive in that way, but they also, like, as any parent I can only imagine, they feel like they do have to hit these certain marks, like their kids do have to go to school, they do have to learn these certain things. And when religion comes into it, like going to Catholic school, it's a little bit different. Even it shifts a little bit more. It's like, well, no, I want them to think like this or feel this way, or at least believe in something. And I want to offer all of that to my kids, but I want it to be their choice. I want it to be something that they come to on their own. And I think that we don't give kids enough credit for how intelligent they are. And I think that that's something that I can't speak for you, but I wonder if you can relate, that I think that maybe we weren't offered that as openly, even with how loving of parents we had, or, like how open-minded our parents were. No, none of our generation was really offered like, hey, there are so many different opportunities. Look at all of them before you choose anything, and then go with what you feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard because we were talking before this, but just like how different it is going to like a small school versus a big school, or if you're from a small town or a city, like and there's just so many choices. It's like, how could anyone even ever tell you them? It's almost like you do just have to go out there and just figure it out. I mean, you can definitely like make people more pigeonholed and show them just one way, but it's almost like once you graduate, you just have to figure it out by yourself, and like that's the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And that part's the scariest, I think. It's like I feel like all this guidance from before was not leading me anywhere. Now I just have to
I guess during all of this, were you ever just like what am I supposed to be doing? Or were you just kind of seeing what's up?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah, I was definitely a little bit of both. I was seeing what was up, but I was also like, what am I supposed to be doing? I think I really felt that in Grand Rapids when I left to do the trail work again. Also in Colorado too, though. Like I was searching for home. I was truly like, that's what I say to myself now that I've found it where I'm at here now. Like this is a home away from home, and it has been for the last 3 years. I have not lived somewhere for longer than 7 months since I was in high school. And that's crazy. Even when I was at Aquinas, I lived in a dorm, and then I lived, in a rental for a year, but like didn't really feel like it was school year. It was a school year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool how you get to where you're at in the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems so confusing at the time, but then you get to where you're supposed to be and you're like, oh, it makes sense.
I don't really need to worry. Like it teaches me to like even when I do have like difficult moments, that's human. That's a thing. You know, we all have really like deep struggles or deep depressions, you know, whatever it might be. That is something that we deal with as human beings. And I'm not trying to say what I'm going to say to discredit that, but like when I am in those difficult times, it's easier for me to now just be like, one day it's going to be okay. And it might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but like it's going to be fine. So feel this, like be whatever you are in this moment right now, but know that it's not going to last forever and you'll get through it. And then you'll be that much better off once you're through it.
Yeah, because, well, you said you didn't like plans. You like plans now or more than before.
I like them more. I think they're necessary.
Okay.
But they change.
Right. I like to say I lose structure.
Yes. I like that.
I have a friend and she was really stressed out because she's like, I don't know if I should do this or go back to school, or like, what do I do? What if I got to follow this plan? What should I do? And I was like, well, you can make like as many plans as you want, but to be honest, like I made a plan and it didn't work. So here we are. Like, I'm not too worried about it. I'm still doing fine. So whatever you end up doing, like, you'll find your way.
Exactly. One of my professors always says the plan changes. And I think that sums it up really well, because it's like, yeah, have an outline, or like a loose structure, like you said. That's what a plan is an outline. It's not we're doing this. It's just my paper is not going to look the same as my outline. Or if it does, that's poor writing. Dorm boss. He does. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's not going to be just a copy paste of my ideas. Like, it's going to be, I'm going to now formulate it into something bigger. And some things you're going to take out, some things you're going to add, some things are going to stay just the same. And I think that's what a plan is too.
Outside of everything that you've just said, do you have any other pieces of advice or things you've learned from your journey for people that feel kind of stuck or confused?
I'm going to start with, you're the only one that can really make that decision on your own, like to get out of it or not. Like me saying what I'm going to say, it can matter or it cannot, like take it with a grain of salt, you know, because it worked for my life. But I will always, always support people especially when it comes to school and leaving school for a bit, if they mention that to me. I've had a couple of friends at school here say, like, I want to leave. Like, I don't think that this is good for me right now. And I've 100% supported them in saying leave then, because right now, if you're looking at it logically, all you're doing is spending money on something that you don't care about. And if that bothers you, then eliminate that. Stop spending money on something you don't care about and go and spend it on something that will feed you and your soul and whatever you need for your life to keep on growing. So really just follow your gut and don't be afraid of what other people are going to say, because at the end of the day, once you get to the other side of it, they're going to be supportive of you and loving of your journey, no matter what it was, even if it's not what they wanted for you. They will. If they're truly meant to be in your life, they will.
Okay, well, thank you for walking us through your life since I last saw you.
Yeah, my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. That was so kind of you. I really loved chatting with you. I love that you're doing this. I kind of want to know what made you start doing this, but I don't know if you want to talk about that right now, or
we can talk after I end this. I'll let you know.
Sweet. Heck yeah.
All right.
Yay.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much again to Molly for being on the show this week. If you have a story you want to personally share on the show, want to be read on air, or a topic you'd like to see discussed, find us on Instagram and Facebook at JustAPersonPod, or send us an email at justapersonpod@gmail.com. And we'll see you next Monday with another new episode.